saw like 7 minutes of it. We did 15-minute births, like 8 times. It was insane, it was amazing. The only problem was I didn't have a baby that came out, so I was just so exhausted and sweaty and tired, and I got no endorphins or anything. But what was amazing is we worked with a midwife in the rehearsal period, and we started blocking out the scene. And then I continued working with her. I've never had a child, which is pretty key to knowing how to have a baby. But I do know a lot of amazing women that have had loads of babies, and I've heard all of their stories, and I really know how important it is for it to look and sound right. So I was with Penny, the midwife, and she would be teaching me about the different sounds and where it would fall and how it would land on this and that and where it would be hurting. And it was just so fascinating. And so when we were actually doing it, she'd come in and would crouch down and be like, okay, so when you get to the next bit, it's like a ooh. And I'd be like, okay. And so we were getting notes from like a midwife about the birth. It was so amazing. And then we'd go again. And it was just like, once you were on this roller coaster, we were off, and it wouldn't stop until John said cut and until that baby came through my legs. It was amazing. Tiring, amazing, exhausting, so beautiful to watch, because it is just all about life. And yeah, that was my most memorable. And just we were talking about it today. The space that we made in that room, in that dirty toilet, became so sacred and so beautiful and so intensely quiet in between takes. And it was like Andrew and I were preparing for a baby, and it was really, really, really beautiful. And when we finished the scene, we stayed in the room and we kind of just like sat in the moment for a bit. And then we said goodbye to the room, and it was so emotional, but it was like we had a child, and we'd had 8 children. We'd had 8 of them, and 7 of them were dollies, and 1 of them was real.
That's how it happens usually, yeah. Right?
It was amazing. So
that was what I was thinking as well. I was thinking that scene, and yeah, it's weird that we made that toilet a holy sight. But it did feel that way, like we, as Florence said, we didn't want to leave, we just kind of wanted to hold each other there for a while, because it was profound, and you know, you're conjuring something, you're trying to do something, you're trying to recreate something that is maybe a big part of the reason, you know, why we're here, I don't know. Yeah, it was hard to leave that space, because it did feel like we had done something ritualistic together. It was very, very sweet, yeah.
I would pick, I mean, obviously that scene is a very special one, but the scene about 10 minutes into the film, where they're in the underground car park, and where Florence says, what would you say if I said to you, I don't know how to go through that again. And we shot that on the 4th day of our shoot, and we had done lighter material up to that, and this was the first big scene, and I remember being really struck by what was going on in the monitor in front of me, and I remember Stuart, our wonderful cameraman, having to walk away from the camera at one point because he was moved, and then you coming up afterwards going, it's looking slightly surprised, going, kind of, what just happened? You know, and you were saying that was much easier than it should have been, and you didn't mean it was easy. You just meant that somehow you had fallen into each other in the scene in a way that is what you're talking about, and that's very rare. And I had seen flashes of that in the rehearsal, and was trying to kind of go, wait till we get a camera, guys. But it was sort of, they were like 2 racehorses kicking at the stalls. You could feel this energy bubbling up, and that day, which was day 4, was when it really sort of crested. And then there were several other scenes that had equally remarkable, not just moving stuff. I mean, the scene where, you know, you turn around and say, I might actually want to have a child with you one day, maybe, kinda. Like, that is a very, very emotional scene. And it was well into the shoot. And you were so in control of what you were doing there that you were able to play the wit of the, you know, well, I vote shagging. Oh, okay, I vote shagging. And the stuff about the excellent notes, but while playing the heartbreak of the scene. And there, you know, I don't know. You see that on a model on a set. That's pretty special.
I think also just on top of that, it was enjoying it, like enjoying every single scene, even the hardest things that you could possibly imagine that you'd ever have to say to anyone in your life or hear that news. It was so enjoyable to be dancing that dance with all these people involved. It felt like we'd been given this gift and this reward, and we were allowed to enjoy it, which is just such a magical feeling.
If you want a silly story, when we started shooting the Big Bird scene, and I call action, and we're there, and the operator who's live, you know, just offset, is speaking into the phone, and next thing the phone goes dead and says, out of credit. Right? I was like...
I forgot about that. I was so angry.
So it wasn't all poetry, right?
I cannot thank you enough for what you've brought us here tonight.